Thank you very much, honorable members. Can I call for an order and members just be seated? And good afternoon to everybody, members in the gallery, those that are watching the proceedings over the platforms of the legislature. I will now ask the secretary to read the fourth order of the day.
Consideration of vote number 11, Human Settlements Appropriation Bill 2023.
I will request the committee to occupy their bay and request the chairperson to deliver the report on behalf of the committee. Honorable Dwabu.
Nkosi Enkosi Sekela Somlomo. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to the Executive Council, honored members, guests in the gallery, officials present in the meeting or in the house. Good afternoon. Let me take this opportunity to present the report on human settlements on behalf of the committee. Chair, let me begin from page 216. The department has got 4 programs. The first one is on administration, is allocated 177,875,000. The second one on housing needs, research and planning, allocated 21,498,000. The third one on housing development, which is taking the bulk of the budget, is allocated 2.3 billion. The last one on housing asset management is allocated 22.6 billion. The total budget for the department is 2.535 billion. To go to the programs, Honorable Deputy Speaker, the first one on administration, I'll go to the findings. The findings, the first one is a complaint that the department has been stagnant in its audit opinion for 6 years, and on unqualified audit opinion. The department has planned also to vet newly appointed employees, especially bid committee members. The department has not yet filled a position on director for legal services. The department is still struggling to reduce its overcommitment. Then the recommendations deal with the findings, Honorable Deputy Speaker, that these that are above must be corrected, in particular the one on audit findings. Let me go to the second program. The second program, program 2, on human settlement delivery planning and performance. The findings, the first one is that the department plans to invest 1% of human settlement development grant in the priority housing development areas. The department intends to support 20 municipalities that do not have human settlement units, and 13 will be supported with the establishment of housing needs register for the year under review. The next one is that the planning activities of this program are directed to the construction of houses instead of the development of sustainable integrated human settlement. The recommendations, first one is that the department must strictly monitor the investment it intends to make. The third one, the department must submit a report to the committee stating the criteria to be used that was used in selecting the 20 municipalities, and and list to us those 13 with the housing needs register. The department must align its planning activities to suit its mandate of developing sustainable integrated human settlements according to the Breaking New Grounds policy of 2002. The third program, Honorable Deputy Speaker, which is, as I said earlier on, the one where most of the money of the department goes to. The first finding is that although the department has planned to approve 800 destitute beneficiaries, the department process are taking too long. This one, Honorable Deputy Speaker, iyayibethisa department in that if you take the time when it approves a beneficiary and compare it with the date that house is completed, you find that in some cases it is attacked to be building houses for wrong people. And the ixesha that was taken between the approval of the beneficiary and the actual time the beneficiary money is long, such that in some instances umuntu sede wayeka noba destitute uthe inikwa lendlu abayijongileyo inikwa kuthiwe bebengekhona abadeserve ngaphezulu kwalo kanti ngela xesha waye approve was really deserving. So it committee is looking at that. Innovative and sustainable built technologies, material supply sector remains untransformed. The government remains a price taker in the sector, and this is impeding on the transformation of the sector to benefit small emerging contractors. The contractors are on site for both Utsomo and the Mnandi Blue Crane multipurpose centers, and are expected completion date is December 2024 and March 2024 respectively. However, the department has not provided any information relating to the Nkantolo multipurpose center. There are still 53 blocked projects out of 87 that were previously blocked due to lack of bulk infrastructure, supply, and land invasions. The last one is that the department has filled its district director posts. However, a committee has noted with concern that only 2 out of 8 are women. Now, the recommendations is that the department must ensure that time frames are adhered to, as the beneficiaries complain about the long wait for their approval houses. The department, working with its national counterparts, National Housing Finance Corporation and the Competition Commission, must intensify all efforts to transform the material supply sector so that the emerging contractors also benefit. The department must ensure close monitoring of contractors to ensure value for money and timeous completion of their work as stipulated in the contracts management. The department should also provide progress reports to the committee on the construction of the Nkantolo multipurpose center. The department must provide the committee with a plan of how it will ensure that all blocked projects are unblocked and completed in order to minimize its overcommitments. The committee appreciates the filling of all district directors' posts. The department must ensure compliance with Employment Equity Act in the filling of the vacancies. The last program is Program 4 on Human Settlements, Property and Assessment Management. The findings A is that the funding of housing instruments that amounts to 65.9 million is not broken down into locations. The handing over of title deeds to rightful owners is moving at a very slow pace. The first home finance scheme is not popularized effectively to reach the targeted groups. The low number of projects relating to the scheme had a detrimental effect in its allocation. Recommendations: the department should provide detailed information in respect of places where the funds will be spent and also ensures value for money. The information should be furnished within 30 days after the adoption of the report. The current department must strengthen its mechanisms and plans to monitor the issuing of title deeds and report back to the committee. It must work closely with municipalities, other relevant stakeholders, and closely monitor the performance of conveyancers appointed to assist in the registration and issuing of title deeds. The department should develop more awareness programs regarding the scheme to ensure that the prospective homeowners do benefit. Under general findings, the committee has noted with concern the general silence of the department on implementation of emergency housing scheme, despite the current climate conditions. Two, the department, the budget documents of the department that were presented lacked information on financial and non-financial performance of the previous financial year. Thirdly, the current established intergovernmental relations platforms are not yielding the expected performance results. General recommendations, number A, the department must provide the committee with a report on the implementation of emergency housing program, as all areas are now disaster prone due to the climate change. B, the department should ensure that quality assurance is done to documents that will be presented before the committee. Also ensures that baseline is provided. C, the current established IGR's platforms should be strengthened for proper coordination. We do note, Honorable Deputy Speaker, that the MEC is doing a high-level best to ensure that these IGR platforms at local government level particularly are strengthened. In conclusion, the committee would like to express gratitude to the department that is led by the Executive Authority, Honorable MEC, and the committee staff and all the staff of the department for their cooperation during the oversight meetings. I therefore table the report for consideration and approval. Deputy Speaker, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Masbulele Sihlalo. We are now going to invite honorable members whether there are questions by the committee. Honorable Saziwa, you are number one. You are the only one, honorable member. Yes, honorable member. Order, honorable members. I can hear you.
Deputy Speaker, good afternoon to you and to all members. My first clarity is based in program 1, finding B. My understanding is that not all employees of government departments get vetted. There's a certain category level. What does the committee mean when it says the department has planned to vet newly appointed employees? Because when you read that together with the recommendation, it says that the department must ensure that all new employees, I'm just focusing on new employees, what do they mean? Because as I've said, a certain categories, the one that, for instance, from director level, that's why we get vetting. We also talk about the person that is going to be a cleaner, to be vetted. That's the first question of clarity. On program 3, finding D, I want to be clear about these figures, because I heard the chair saying there are still 53 block projects out of 87 block projects. Can you clarify that? Because my reading that there are 87 of them blocked. Is it a typo? So that we can be clarified, because it's not making sure. It's not make sure
you.
here. It's not make sure.
Thank you very much.
I would like to suggest that recommendation E on the same program be a little bit strengthened, because it's saying out of 8 districts, only 2 are females. Now, it further says, the department must ensure compliance with the Employment Equity Act in the filling of all its vacancies, all of its vacancies. Now, yet you are focusing on the district directors. Can you clarify that? I think,
you very
Chair,
much,
this is what I have.
Thank you very
Ndiyazi
much.
abanye abantu ndiyabande batshinga lento endithethayo kanti ndincingi bona.
Honorable Chairperson, the question is vetting, blocked projects and demographics.
Akuchingeke kwalento ndixela kuyo. Enkosi Somlo. The first question on vetting, we agree with the Honorable Saziwa. We were referring to SMS and bid committees, not everybody. The second question on blocked, Hansard ngandinqinela ngoba ndifunda phaya. I said 53 out of previously 87 blocked, because there's a missing word, but I did indicate that when I was presenting. The last one, oh no, we should remove that all, because the recommendation is responding to the finding. So for it to tally, the all should be replaced. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Honorable members, are there questions directed to the Honorable MEC? None. Thank you very much. Committee, you can go back to your seats. I will now invite the Democratic Alliance for debate. 12 minutes, Honorable Member. The time is yours.
Honourable Speaker, all protocols observed.
Order. Proceed, sir. Proceed. I'm protecting you.
Honourable Speaker, all protocols observed. There are 3 things needed for humanity to coexist. 1 is truth, 2 is peace, and 3 is basic needs. Everything else is irrelevant. The DA recognizes the truth that the ANC-led government has delivered subsidized housing to more than 300 million poor households to date. Truth, despite this substantial investment, the demand for housing continues to rise in our province. We agree that housing delivery to most destitute and vulnerable beneficiaries, especially people who are living with disabilities, the elderly, child-headed families, and military veterans, must remain a priority. The DA also recognizes that the provision of housing is interconnected to the restoration of the dignity of our people, which was eroded through decades of repressive and racial laws imposed by an apartheid government. We believe a home should be a shelter from storms, all sorts of storms. And Section 26 of the Bill of Rights grants everyone the right to access of adequate housing. The ANC must not just build houses for the sake of meeting targets, as this undermines the quality of housing delivery. Housing must be integrated in a socio-economic context, and this is very important. Honorable Deputy Speaker, a house or a home is where we should feel safe, secure, comfortable, and sadly, access to decent housing remains a shattered dream for thousands of poor people in the Eastern Cape, as many people's names have been on waiting lists for years. Some people don't even bother anymore to apply for housing despite living in deplorable conditions. The Eastern Cape province is experiencing an enormous housing backlog, and sadly, there is a decline in the number of newly built RDP houses and other social housing projects year on year. When people's basic needs are ignored, rejected, or invalidated by those leaders and leaders in positions, the people will rise up in anger. Year on year, the department is facing a growing housing backlog of over 650,000 houses, which will take them over 60 years and more to build. The housing need will not decline as our province is characterized by deep-seated challenges of employment, inequality, and poverty, and the need for decent, good quality shelter and social infrastructure is on the rise. One way to try and meet a moving target is to incorporate sustainable building technologies. Honourable Speaker, while the ANC howls disrespectfully at the role of the opposition, we are part and parcel of ensuring a healthy, functional democracy. Our foundations are solid, and we will not be shaken or cracked by the ANC's bully tactics as the DA. We know our value, what we want, and what our role is. We are for the people's rights, and we are with the people in their daily struggles for better quality services in this province. The Department of Human Settlements has 18 key delivery outputs, and attached to these outputs are targets that they must achieve in the financial year 2023-2024. Listen properly. The DA will oversight you, and will do it properly, believe me. Our own oversight visits have found that many projects are not completed timeously. Others are abandoned, and completed work on project is defective. New contractors lack capacity and become insolvent as they struggle to navigate complex, onerous housing projects without guidance from the department. 30 years into post-apartheid South Africa, and we're still experiencing incompetence in the department, and it's getting worse instead of getting better. The use of unskilled labor, misuse of funds, submission of fraudulent claims, and greedy contractors holding the department ransom, demanding additional money, or they will abandon construction sites is the order of the day. This mafia-style practice has tainted the department's image as a leading institution. The department lacks clear strategies to improve quality housing projects, as poor monitoring, control, and evaluation of project implementation phases has led to fewer and fewer houses being built. When it comes to the rectification, it has become so bad that during the 5-year period between April 2018 to March 2023, 4,254 RDP houses had to be rectified, costing the people an additional 7 million rand. Interestingly, over the same period, the districts of Joe Garvey and Alfred Nzo didn't receive any rectification. And I wonder why. Isn't there a need for this also? The department is spending more resources on rectifying houses that should have been built properly in the first place. And this is leaving people in a state of disrepair, confusion, and loss of trust and hope in the government, while informal settlements mushrooms. As we reflect on this report and the budget table today, it is important that we consider the following key issues. The department must employ skilled, motivated staff under the supervision of competent and strict managers and supervisors that will enforce consequence managers and not jobs for pals. The monitoring of contractors' works done must be ongoing basis to detect in a timeous manner potential and existing problems for immediate corrective measures there and then. Contractors who have experienced and the necessary qualifications must be a priority, as it will reduce future costs associated with the rectification and building of houses. Deputy Speaker, in addressing the provincial housing crisis, the DA recognizes that after years of corruption and poorly built houses, followed by rectification projects, that the state's resources has been depleted. We will have to work with the reality of reduced budgets of housing. The Department of Human Settlements needs to move away from building freestanding structures and instead build compact, environmental-friendly developments close to economic opportunities using the latest building methodologies the open market can offer. We as the DA will support safe, energy-efficient housing delivered through self-built schemes, which helps to diversify housing options and ensure more people own their homes. We will continue to prioritize the speedy delivery of title deeds to previously built and any newly state-subsidized housing so that recipients have legal ownership of their homes. We believe that state land should not lie unused while people are not living in decent settlements, and therefore we will release unutilized state-owned land parcels for the purpose of housing developments, but also taking into consideration the potential for the land to be used for other economic and social purposes. We will focus on enabling the densification of existing well-located and low-density neighborhoods through appropriate zoning and investment in infrastructure. Where viable, we will ensure that in-situ upgrading of informal settlements are provided residents who have previously informal settlements with 10-year security. We will also focus on providing transparent housing opportunities, including service sites which are free from manipulation and abuse, with a fair process for selecting beneficiaries. We will endeavor to ensure that spatial planning protects our natural environment and heritage for future generations. We will adopt global best practice in ensuring municipalities have a database of homeless people, as it's impossible to track homelessness without information on who is homeless and their circumstances. In principle, no person should live on the street, and the DA is committed to assisting homeless people to re-establish themselves off the streets through a combination of socio-economic interventions. We will not just close down shelters as the ANC did after COVID-19. In the short term, we will be working with civil society organizations who will assist homeless.
2 minutes.
And we will be working with the Departments of Social Development. Honorable Speaker, the DA will combat double dipping and queue jumping in people's efforts to secure unfair housing advantages. The DA will also take principled legal action to prevent and stop illegal land invasions. The DA is committed to accelerate human settlement delivery. And therefore, in order to reduce the growing and moving housing target, the DA will provide vouchers to qualifying beneficiaries, allowing them to build their own homes on government-provided service sites. Honorable Speaker, a poor family or a construction worker has as much right to a healthy and happy life as a child of a billionaire. And as the DA, we will help to uplift our society out of poverty and homelessness. The very involvement of the DA in this People's Parliament is the very lifeblood of a functional democracy. The DA accepts this shocking report, but we don't support the department's budget vote as requested for various glaring reasons. We will not accept this budget, and we are not convinced that financial leakages will be stopped, and we are not convinced that quality habitable housing delivery will be realized by this department. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Botha. I will now invite the African National Congress, Honorable Fihlani. 18 minutes, Honorable Member.
Enkosi, Deputy Speaker, Tibulise Acting Premier, nabaphathiswa bakhe, Chief Whip, amalungu wonke walapha owakhokheleyo. Nani ndinibhekile apho, nhloko yesebe, ndinibhekile. Ndicinga uba ke mhlambi xa siqalayo apha kule ngxoxo, kukuthi nje abahlali kwabona kula committee kuyabonakala yiyo lento bazosixela ngo we will. Thina we continue implementing policies. Asithi we will. Nangoku umphathiswa kaNdlunkulu uzawubona uba pha utshintshile ii-policies apho afuna ukulungisela khona. Zawungena kuyo leyo ethubeni. Ndicinga uba ke somlomo uyandivumela ke ndiqale ikhona igqiyazana. Kuyathula igqiyazana nena apha eParliament. Ke igqiyazana nokumuntu omhle lo Khawuli xa uthi ligqiyazana ndithi. On the issue of the Ukraine-Russia, I think we have to appreciate that we will see these things ngendlela in terms of the geopolitical agenda in different prisms, anti-prism, prisms. It depends on what lens you are putting on. It depends on what lens you are putting on. And as other thing, what I can say is that wars have casualties. And kuthiwa ke inkomo xa zigquba, inkunzi xa zigquba, ndizama ukuthetha isiXhosa ke mafesa. Inkunzi xa zigquba ingca iyademesheka, nditsho kakuhle? Andithenga ugquba, ndithi xa zigquba ingca iyademesheka. Siyingca ke namhlanje thina in that proxy war. I'll call it a proxy war. It's a USA proxy war. In Ukraine, it's a USA proxy war against Russia. Ndithe ke kuxhomekeke ukuba izeziphi ezi specs uzifakileyo takakhawuli. Iza kubonakalisa ke is on the privilege, and also we do have trade partners. Unfortunately, we trade with all nobuthetha ngo-East no-West, South trader with all. But with the emergence of the BRICS, you could see that sizawukwazi ukujongana nezinye i-partners who would also support our own developmental agenda as Africa and also as world. We appreciate the role played our President Ramaphosa, with the African leaders. Baphakamise iflag emhlophe ke mama. Baphakamise iflag emhlophe, which is a peace mission. Because as I have said that when those that are fighting, kuthiwa zii-bulls, ingca itheni iyademetheka. Ngizayibeka kakuhle ke nina ngendlela etsho kanjalo. So nje mandithe siyiloo ngca, kungoku nje lots of issues have been affected by those matters. In issue of food security, it's only now when the issue of Ukraine and Russia, when we saw prices, soaring prices of cooking oil. Mhlambi ke abanye benu abayisebenzisi cooking oil, basebenzise ezinye izinto which are used by the ordinary people. Sasebenzisa ke thina cooking oil, we could see that ibikwixabiso eliphezulu elingafikelelekiyo. Ikuxelele into ba xa kuzobiza ipetrol ibe phezulu, uba ke uhamba ngento hamba ngazo ungangayiva loo nto leyo. So I'm saying some of the issues, even issues of interest rates, you could see that as part of our own trade politics, all those are affected by this issue of the trade war between isikakulu because une dominance abanye abafuna ubungangamsha over others isikakulu ke bakhona ke niyabazi ababantu aba utata wenu ade wasuka apha eKapa wamka wotshona ngapha eMelika esithi awuyacela yena ingakumbi uzicela kulento ineAGOA because we know that's an agreement that was made by African countries of each South Africa is part of the signatories on the AGOA. AGOA ke le ijongene nezinto ezininzi mhlambi ke zeniyibheke ubithethe ukuthini. Ndicinga ba ke sekela somlomo the other issues of climate change those are the issues esifacene nazo. They has been exacerbated by these matters wars because some of the interventions of Mansba, the areas where we could have ngekungenelelwe ngendlela abantu bajonge nezabo umuntu ujonge apha phambi kwakhe. So as we speak in some of the countries abanye kube ngathi sizawude ziperishe. Those are some of the issues of environmental degradation. So of which, if you talk of the human settlement, you could say, environment. We are talking of the humans because that are settled in those areas, which is the issues of the human settlement. So as a country, the Western Cape, even Stellenbosch in other areas, but you could see ingxaki enkulu ingakumbi on the ordinary people ekubonakalayo kuba bona bahlala ezitratweni abantu abaninzi pha. You go to Cape Town, you'll find a lot of people on the streets, living in the streets. I'm saying I could see that there are a lot of people in there. So in the issues of settling our own people, it challenge ininzi even in the Western Cape, especially in the city of Cape Town. We do have challenges, the settlement all over, and also because the population is growing. We are not like other countries where you can say you must limit to one-child policy. We'll continue as long as you continue, the population grows, and in a spaces, an environment where the people said, there's a need for the question of your housing. We'll welcome the policy proposal that were put forward by the minister as the MEC was putting executive statement here in the other day. Key to that is the issue of the centralization, emergency funding, the issue of the program adjustment quantum and taking a kumbi uzawuphinda uyikhangela uba xa sithetha ngequantum sithetha ngantoni phakwa human settlement. So we could know that we really appreciate some of those, but it does not mean that you are exonerated, department, to deal with the issues that are already in your hand, working with the municipalities on some of these issues. We also hope that in the measures that have been employed in the supply chain now, they will yield positive results, because this department is also one of those that is stagnant in terms of the audit outcomes. So in terms of the areas that the AG has pointed, you could see that issues of SCM are issues that have been highlighted. Also, we could highlight the importance of on the stakeholders, relevant stakeholders. We could say on the policy pronouncements, or we must highlight the importance of sticking to the policy pronouncements. Wherein you have challenges, issues of social facilitation to those communities to avert some of the community challenges, because if the communities will rise when the pronouncement has been made, but that commitment is not met, then you'll find that there is a rising of the communities. So to avert those social facilitation, we really also say that must be an issue of the MPCC, I think it was still MEC Helen Sauls August. Nam xa ndihleli pha ekomitini honorable MEC okwa Treasury through you Deputy Speaker man sithi kuthiwa khona MPCC yakwanyathi bayazi phandle buzuba kwanyathi kanti it's a Flagstaff that one is in Flagstaff that the pronouncement that was made then. So I'm saying when you follow up, but you could find that working with the communities when you go to those areas kuthi hayi ubani wayecommit lento. AG has started also to audit the pronouncements. So I'm saying when you make those policy pronouncements and some of those, how we wish that those must be followed up to the latter, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Issues of beneficiary management. We can agree more that there is an improved working with the beneficiaries, but municipalities at the center, that is very important, that the municipalities working together, because each department is in the each department is not working alone in silos. It's working with the municipalities so that those people that are in those wards are able to be identified. The department will also implore that it must find ways to attract the workers, especially on the fleece program, because in terms of your targets, year in, year out, you find that you will not be able to make some of those targets. Yet, you would find some of the workers, they are in those RDP houses that are not made for them. A case in point, Honorable Porter, in one of the RDP houses. So I'm saying you can have, we don't say abantu mabangahlali, but if you are not targeted, because some of them are having, if fleece, if you are earning more than 15,000, there is a program that is able to assist you to be able to be part of those. The other issue is the issue of the materials, because some of the materials because the fast tracking of the programs of some of the challenges, they will depend on the material, especially if you talk of the alternative technology. But in the province, you do not have where we have those materials. So it means those contractors will forever depend to others in the other areas. Then we also urge working with the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure in the program of the emerging contractors, so that our contractors are able to be also upskilled and be able to get some of those and baphume pha kwaba level 1 bangu level 1 okanye bano levels mo 1 babe bambalwa, who will find that at level 9 within the human settlement. Yet Theo, which was a performing company, which is a level 9, it was a woman-led, but la mama ke so we do want more Theos from the province, because I don't think but that one we suka up at all besebenza ke ngoba ngwase South Africa. So it's important ke sithi kwezi zinto zonke xa siyixhasa ingxelo, siyayixhasa ingxelo le yekomiti thina ukuba indlule nayo mayixhase as African National Congress. Sisithi ke ibalulekile insebenziswano ye kumasebe, especially when you talk of your district development model, when you talk of one plan, one municipality or one district. So all those issues to realize whatever challenges and whatever funds that we have, will be able to assist going forward. Thank you very much, Somlo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Fihlani. Honorable MEC, just before you take the podium, let me make this remark that I'm informed that you are accompanied by the acting HOD, Mr. Edmund Van, also accompanied by the Chief Director, Program 4, Mrs. Tintleni. We appreciate that. Yesterday, there were MECs without a single official. You can now take the podium, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Nito, welcome back. Honorable
10
Deputy
minutes.
Speaker, thank you very much. Greetings to the Honorable Premier in absentia, the members of the Executive, the Honorable Chief Whip, all members of the Provincial Legislature, our guests in the gallery, the acting HOD, and his team, and all distinguished guests and the people of the Eastern Cape. who may be witnessing this debate. Honorable Deputy Speaker, I think firstly we would want to extend our gratitude and greetings to our portfolio committee on behalf of the department, and we truly welcome the constructive report from the committee on our departmental budget vote for 23-24 financial year. We are committing to provide the detailed responses to the committee report as per the provisions in our standing rules of order of the Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature. Honorable Deputy Speaker, we'll try and reflect on some of the work that the department has done and also some of the issues that were part of the debate, though I am wary not to respond to that weak attempt from Honorable Botha at electioneering and the wish list where Honorable Botha was telling us of what they will do. Lucky for us, we don't need the DA's intentions and dreams and wishes, because as a sector, we have an experience of the leadership of the Democratic Alliance, where the Democratic Alliance held the helm in Nelson Mandela, and Nelson Mandela Bay could not see not even one unit of a house being built under the DA. That is where the DA was governing. We saw Nelson Mandela losing 500 million under the leadership of DA. And we are forced to believe that where it governs right. So the people of the Eastern Cape have an experience of the DA's leadership. We have an experience of their rule. We will not be fooled, and we will not be disillusioned by the electioneering that was happening here. But I do want to correct a few issues. There has been no rectification of any units in Alfred Nzo, contrary to what the honorable member was saying in this podium. But secondly is that all the rectification programs of the department are done on the pre-2006 stock before we had a collaboration with NHBRC to issue the happy certificate and the guarantor on the work done by the department. So indeed, as we continue to provide dignity and integrated human settlements to the people of the province, we do improve on the work that we are doing. Honorable Deputy Speaker, in the budget speech, we detailed the work done by the department, but also our plans for the intervening period. So we outlined our collective vision of bringing dignity and to improve the quality of the household life, but also concrete plans towards the systematic establishment of sustainable integrated human settlements. And if the honorable members of the DA were part of the portfolio committee meetings, they would have been part of the sessions that engaged on this, instead of coming here and claiming that we don't have any plans on how to establish integrated, sustainable human settlements. We indicated that in the prevailing period, though it is characterized by high levels of unemployment, inequality, and poverty, and with the growing need for decent shelter, it is important to engage on the efforts done to establish these quality, sustainable human settlements, because we establishing them carrying the scars of a difficult period. Now, dialectically, the new shall be born out of the old. Therefore, the new will be carrying features of the old. Now, the latter becomes important to underscore, for we are combining efforts to establish sustainable human settlements for the people of our province under these realities. Our commitment is anchored, and these efforts are anchored on the articulate, achievable strategic framework, for we appreciate the need to restore dignity to our people. Now, without responding to the recommendations and findings of the committee, I do want to just reflect on the few issues that were raised in the report, as we have committed to improve the functionality of the department for effective service delivery. Part of what is critical in the functionality of the department is its personnel, having the right people in the right position. As a department, we have filled most critical posts, including one of the Chief Financial Officer. And with the recruitment on all others being underway, for those that are still remaining. And we are prioritizing the recruitment and the human resource element of the department because we understand it to be the bedrock of our institution. The position of the Director of Legal Services that is mentioned in the report has been vacant since the 1st of May 2023, and it's awaiting to be submitted in the PCMT for approval for it to be advertised in the next sitting. Now, as a portfolio committee has identified, amongst other issues, the stagnation in the audit findings. To mitigate this as a department, we've critically engaged on the root cause analysis of these challenges. We've done so with the purpose of recovery plan that will be anchored on dealing with the root cause throughout the value chain of the department. We are focusing on the audit improvement plans that is anchored on strengthening our audit and risk committees. Now, the recommendation of the Portfolio Committee in relation to the establishment of sustainable integrated human settlements are noted for implementation, but also I must indicate that there is acknowledgement that the sustainability and the cohesiveness of integrated human settlements relies on good infrastructure, such as public transport, water, energy resources, public spaces, accessibility to essential community services, such as schools, shops, healthcare, and facilities for families and children. In the COM, the department should strive for the establishment of viable, socially and economically integrated communities that are located in areas allowing for convenient access to economic opportunities, as well as health, educational, and social amenities. This situation, therefore, necessitates that government, subsidized units, and future spatial planning must contribute towards efforts to restructure our cities' urban spatial form. The prevailing narrative in this regard is that despite the great efforts by government to increase the housing stock, the country's urban form is still characterized by segregation and fragmentation. The provision of housing by the state has not meaningfully altered the city's urban DNA, which are still characterized by poor integration, low density, monofunctionality, poor connectivity, and predominantly low-income residential areas on peripheral cities with limited economic opportunities. In addressing the situation, this means we need to do more as government and as communities in ensuring that land use is informed by local and district integrated spatial plans. We are concerned about the emerging land use practices where informal settlements are mushrooming in the peri-urban areas, which restricts the development and expansions of our towns and cities. This area will need close collaboration between government, our traditional leaders, and communities. The establishment of sustainable integrated human settlements that responds to the challenges confronting the people now need to strategically cater for low-income and middle-income earners through social housing. Social housing plays a critical role in changing not only the landscape of our communities, but in community integration. To take forward this work and the consolidation of a shared conceptual clarity on the effective establishment of sustainable integrated human settlements within the context of our provincial realities, which is largely rural, the department, working with the Office of the Premier, our sister departments, EXEC, the Nelson Mandela University, and other key stakeholders, we will hold the Eastern Cape Human Settlements in Daba on the 5th to the 7th of July at the Nelson Mandela University in Gqeberha. The province has been faced with the challenge of substantial number of stalled or blocked projects across the province. We have undertaken to lead a campaign of systematic unblocking of all historically blocked projects across the province to ensure value for money and to respond to the needs and aspirations of our people, as pronounced in the 2023 policy speech. The campaign will include a vigorous oversight on running projects. Now, Honorable Deputy Speaker, we have opened the financial year of 2022-23 with 87 blocked projects. We are happy to say of those, 34 projects have been unblocked, and the 53 remaining are in the 23-24 business plan of the department with the views of unblocking it, working with our professional service providers and our implementing agents. Another component which I think is important to reflect on the policy changes in relation to the disaster, Honorable Speaker, as we mentioned in the executive statement sitting of the 20th of June, As of 1st of April, the provincial departments are no longer responsible for the provisioning of emergency housing to disaster-affected households. The responsibility now resides with the National Department. As a result, the Provincial Emergency Housing Grant and the Municipal Emergency Grant have ceased to exist. Lastly, as indicated earlier, the committee report is welcomed, and the realistic contribution by Honorable Koliswa Fihlani, representing the African National Congress. They will be considered as we move forward. Indeed, some of the contribution from other members of the oppositions, as expected, proved to be detached from the existing realities confronting the downtrodden masses, but a concrete reflection of the views of the privileged elites. They are disconnected from the reality of the many years of racial subjugation, which is a major source of the challenges we now have. The views of our friends from the Democratic Alliance-led opposition represents
As to
those of the
conclude.
class they represent. It is a class position. It is true to the writings of Karl Marx when he says it is not the consciousness
Thank
of
you.
men that determines their existence, but on the contrary, their social existence determines
Thank you
their
very much,
consciousness.
Honourable Member.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable MEC. Just before I put the report for adoption, honorable members, I've been informed that the acting HOD, Mr. Edmund Van, has lost his mother, but he decided to come and honor this invitation to this house under those conditions. And on behalf of us all, as members of this provincial legislature, I wish to convey our sympathies as well as condolences to you and your family. And we wish to say, please be comforted. Thank you very much. I now put the report on our members. Any objection? Thank you very much. I think we have saved 27 minutes in this report. Thank you very much. May I request the Secretary to read the next order of the day?
Consideration of vote number 12, Finance and Provincial Expenditure Appropriation Bill 2023.
Thank you very much. I will now invite the Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Ndabeni, to table the report on behalf of the committee. 15 minutes, Honorable Member. I will assist you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Speaker in absentia, Honorable Premier, Honorable members of the Executive, Honorable Chief Whip, Honorable members of the Provincial Legislature, Head of Departments, distinguished guests, friends and comrades, good afternoon. Honorable Deputy Speaker, we are presenting a report of the Provincial Finance and Expenditure Portfolio Committee, presenting a report during the month of June when the whole country is celebrating the heroic struggles led by young people. So allow me to join the millions of South Africans in paying a tribute and salute the generation of 1976, a generation of militant, radical, and fearless freedom fighters who ignited the struggle leading to the South African democratic state we have today. The generation of Tsietsi Matshini, the generation of Seth Mazibuko, Billy Masetla, Hector Peterson, Buisa Makubu, and many more. The majority of those freedom fighters, Honorable Deputy Speaker, joined the military struggle as led by the MK, the spear of the nation, which defeated South Africa and led to the democratic state we have today in South Africa. In honoring them, Honorable Deputy Speaker, we are presenting this report in a free and a democratic South Africa. The Committee on Finance and Provincial Expenditure discussed the report and budget of the Provincial Treasurer, vote 12. The department has got 5 programs. Because of time, Honorable Deputy Speaker, I'll go straight to findings and recommendations. Program 1, the program deals with the Office of the MEC, Management Services, Corporate Services, Financial Management, internal risk and risk management issues. Findings. The committee agreed that the provincial treasurer has indicated in their report that the process of validating of the organizational structure depends on the office of the OTP and the public service administration, and that they did not disclose any time frame to finalize that process. The second finding, Honorable Deputy Speaker, the provincial treasurer indicated that the OTP has recently requested the department to present a job evaluation results for the post in the proposed new organizational structure. Recommendations. The committee recommended that the provincial treasurer must ensure that the office of the OTP and DPSA must give priorities to this process to improve the organizational structure and to approve that structure that will affect also the performance of the department. The provincial treasurer must liaise with the office of the premier in speeding up the process of job evaluation and submit the progress report to the committee within the 30 days after the adoption of the report. Program 2 goes straight to recommendation and findings. The programs deal with the program support, economic analysis, fiscal policy, and budget management. The provincial treasurer, working with the Government Technical Advisory Center, have indicated that they will finalize the rationalization of the public entities by 31st May 2024. Whilst the committee notes this progress, it has, however, found out that the cooperation between the affected departments and the public entities themselves in attending to the labor issues arising from that rationalization is the matter of a major determinant towards the rate of the progress. The second issue is that the majority of government departments continues to appoint the implementing agents or the consultants, although there was a decision that the government department must do away with the use of consultants in departments. And that is despite the fact that the department itself has got capable officials that can do the similar work. The decision by the provincial treasurer to introduce the zero-based budgeting in all government departments is also not supported by departments, as some departments are not adhering to this issue of the zero-based budgeting. Recommendations. The committee recommended, in line with what the provincial treasurer submitted, that the plan to rationalize all the public entities must have clear timeframes, clear targets, and the committee must be presented with that report of the rationalization within the 30 days after the adoption of the report. The provincial treasurer must ensure that all government departments must scale down the use of consultancy and use the technocrats within department to perform the functions as they are employed for. Also, there's an ongoing issue of finding about the provincial treasurer must ensure that the Department of Health complies with the treasurer regulations 823 and liaise with the OTP towards making sure that actions are taken to the officials in terms of that particular report. The provincial treasurer must ensure that there is a zero-based budgeting is implemented by all to maximize and to ensure that there's budget efficiency. Program 3, Honorable Deputy Speaker, Program 3 deals with two issues in terms of the department, the program support and the asset management. Straight to findings and recommendations. In January 2017, the Honorable Minister of Public Service and Administration issued a directive preventing government officials from conducting business with any organs of the state in terms of Section 41, subsection 3 of the Public Service Act, Act of 1994. Furthermore, the regulations 13 subsection C of the Public Service regulations provide that no employee of the state shall conduct a business with any government or any state organ. And no government employee shall be allowed to be a director neither in the public or in the private sector or a company. A recommendation, the committee recommended that the provincial treasurer must submit to the committee a detailed report showing if there is any government employee who is doing or is conducting a business with the state if there is any of the government employees who is a director in any private or public company, and they must also indicate what actions taken by the affected departments against those individual employees. Program 4 deals with program support, accounting services, norms and standards, risk management, provincial internal audit support to the internal and interlinking financial systems within the department. Straight to findings and recommendations. Findings, the committee agreed that as per the report, the Department of Transport must provide the report to the treasurer about the process it has embarked on the verification of the payments made to the service providers who are providing the scholar transport, and provide if there are any discrepancies of overpayments and underpayments that have been identified. The second issue is that the medical legal claims that are still not only the threat to the Department of Health, but also the threat to the entire provincial liquidity levels. Finding C, the provincial treasurer has indicated some departments are still non-compliant with the financial management standard as per the Financial Management Accountability Framework, as they continue to receive unauthorized, wasteful, irregular expenditure as per the HG's report. Those matters get escalated to the accounting officers and further escalated to the executive authorities who are MECs, and ultimately get escalated to the office of the OTP for consequence management. Recommendations on Program 4. The provincial treasurer must ensure that the department takes a credible payment system that is able to pick up any discrepancy to avoid under and overpayment of service providers as it relates to the scholar transport. The provincial treasurer must also adhere to the development whilst acknowledging the court judgment to the issue of the medical legal claims, and make sure that the national department is drawn into support in this particular aspect. The committee welcomes the initiative by the Department of Treasury to initiate a process leading to implementation of the consequence management. However, the committee continues to get a report, must continue to get a report of the consequence management as well as the timeframes with regard to that. Program 5 deals with the municipal support by the Department of Treasury, municipal budgeting, institutional governance, municipal accounting and reporting. I will go straight to findings and recommendations, Honorable Deputy Speaker, because of time. The committee notes the intervention by the National Treasurer in allocating funds to all provincial treasurers in order to assist and strengthening the province in supporting the municipalities as per Section 154 and Section 139 of the Constitution. The budget allocated in 2023-2024 financial year will be used to finalize the new organizational structure of the provincial treasurer. That will include the establishment of Municipal Recovery Services Unit, which will place all the good performing CFOs of municipalities into a provincial database to be used to intervene in any municipalities where there's a need to intervene. The committee has found out that as per the provincial treasurer's report, some municipalities have got high cost of employees above the normal or the national norm or the national threshold. The second finding is that the contributing factor to those high cost of employees include, but not limited to, the issue of overtime, the issue of benefits to some employees that are not supposed to be given to the employees. The committee has also found out that some municipalities are overgraded. As a result, they've got high payment salaries to the employees because of the grading levels. Furthermore, there are municipal employees who received allowances such as car allowance, cell phone allowances, despite the fact that their respective responsibilities do not require them to travel. That affect the municipalities in terms of their salary bill. The provincial treasurer indicated that some municipalities are seriously indebted with ESCOM, and some institutions like water services, like Amatola Water. And those debts are historic in nature. As per the budget assessment by the department, process done by the provincial treasurer, the affected municipalities were advised to negotiate with those creditors in a manner that will not negatively affect the municipal fiscus. Recommendations. The provincial treasurer, the committee recommended that the provincial treasurer must ensure that the committee is given a report about the impact and outcomes of the interventions made by those municipalities, and the treasurer must continue to report to the committee about the impact of the new municipal recovery services unit and what is doing differently, making sure that the municipality improves on the financial management. The second recommendation, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
2 minutes.
Yes, I'm towards conclusion. The provincial treasurer working with COGTA must ensure that the issue of grading of municipality is corrected and the allowance and the overpayment of municipalities addressed and corrected by in the affected municipalities, and the progress report be presented within the 30 days. The provincial treasurer must report back to the committee about the progress made in dealing with the municipal debt as it relates to ESCOM and water boards like Amatola, and make sure that those reports are presented to the committee on quarterly basis. General findings, which is the last finding. Some departments continue to receive irregular, wasteful, unauthorized expenditure as per the AG, which indicate that they are not compliant with the financial management statute, and some accounting officers are reluctant to take consequence management. The final recommendation on general findings, the provincial treasurer working with the office of the OTP must make sure that the department implements the audit action plans, and the accounting officers must implement the consequence management decisions to that effect. Lastly, as I conclude, Honorable Deputy Speaker, on behalf of the Portfolio Committee on Finance, I wish to pass and express our gratitude to the honorable members of the committee, the HOD, the honorable MEC of the Department of Finance and Provincial Expenditure, and our officials from the legislature, the officials from the Department of Finance, for their cooperation and support during the process, the marathon process of the budgeting, and during the vote 12 budgeting. Thank you very much, and on behalf of the committee, we wish to submit the report to the House for approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Are there questions for clarity by the committee? Thank you very much. None. Can I request the committee to occupy their own seats? Clarity is sought from the MEC. Honorable Anil Kumar Pillai. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I think my question comes from the observation made by the committee of the shift of incremental budget to the zero budgeting. One of the statements made is that we are now in a bit of confusion that how many departments really moved into that particular one. Can the MEC give some light on that? Because it is saying that it is introduced on one side, it is waning. That is what is the committee was saying. But I don't want to ask that question to them. Probably I thought MEC is better positioned. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable MEC.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I will talk to it when I present.
Thank you very much. I think a member is understanding. May I invite members for debate now? I will start with Democratic Alliance, 12 minutes. Honorable Kasim. I will manage your time as well, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Honorable Deputy Speaker, the MEC for Finance, the Honorable Mlungisi Gerald Mvoko, in describing the priorities of
Order.
in describing the priorities of his department, outlined the following: fiscal consolidation, which entails the implementation of cost containment measures and prioritization of expenditure on core service delivery programs, supply chain management reforms, which entail support to SMMEs through preferential procurement and payment of suppliers within 30 days, infrastructure support, which enhances infrastructure planning and delivery, and provincial and municipal governance and accountability to improve financial management, audit outcomes, and delivery of services in the province. With respect to fiscal consolidation, the HOD of the department further outlined measures including enforcing budget expenditure ceilings, managing the wage bill, rationalizing and streamlining public entities, and zero-based budgeting. Honourable Deputy Speaker, in considering Provincial Treasury's Budget Vote 12 and its plans for the year ahead, it is necessary for this House to reflect on the ability of Provincial Treasury to make meaningful progress towards the MEC's priorities. Efforts with respect to fiscal consolidation, unfortunately, have not gone MEC according to plan. Expenditure of the fiscal budget on travel and subsistence have shown that departments have spent more than the CPI envisaged spending compared to 10 years ago. In fact, 133.6 million rand more has been spent on travel and subsistence when adjusted for inflation as compared to what was spent 10 years back. Also, there has been an increase in the 2022-2023 spending to 651.29 million rand when compared to the previous year expenditure of 483.38 million rand. The wage bill, both in the province and in municipalities, have escaped the envisaged containment. The total budgeted to pay employees in the province has risen in the current budget by 2.4%, with an additional 1.4 billion rand sent to be spent in this year in this regard. This has crowded out expenditure on goods and services and capital assets, which have seen a reduction of 2.5% and 1% respectively. Expenditure on COE is set to make up 64.7% of the current budget, well in excess of the 60% target for the province. Stabilizing the cost of employment at around 60% of provincial expenditure would have freed up around 4.3 billion rand for goods and services and infrastructure-related expenditure, in effect freeing up resources desperately needed for example, better school infrastructure, rectification of houses, adequate medicinal supplies, and the fixing of our provincial roads. Municipalities too have used a significant portion of the 9.46 billion rand equitable share allocation and 19.6 billion rand revenue from rates and services, only 27% of which is being recovered by municipalities, to pay salaries and wages of 12.7 billion rand. Let's move to the next under fiscal consolidation, Deputy Speaker. The rationalization of public entities, which was announced many, many years back. The deadline has now been pushed further back to 2024, which means that this administration will have gone the entire term of office failing to achieve this goal. Public entities remain bloated gravy trains that operate inefficiently with top management structures instead of our people raking in the spoils. The Honourable Premier has spoken about the need to rationalize these entities since the beginning of his term. Zero-based budgeting, as is contained in the report of the committee, has yet to be fully implemented in all departments and has to date produced underwhelming savings, mostly because of the increased phenomenon of unbudgeted expenditure resulting in spiraling irregular expenditure. The MEC conceded to the committee that departments are not budgeting from a zero base so as to ensure that expenditure on core service delivery programs is properly aligned. Insofar as supply chain management reforms are concerned, payment of suppliers continues to be an issue. This is particularly a sickness plaguing our municipalities, with over 235 million rand owed to suppliers for longer than 30 days, with more than half of that amount owed for longer than 60 days, with 23 of the 39 municipalities in the province having been unable to pay suppliers within 90 days, let alone 30 days. And in a province with infrastructure backlogs like the ones we have, having the Education Department return 305 million rand of infrastructure grant funding over the last 2 years for not being able to spend it, this is unforgivable. What it has shown is that the way we build infrastructure is not cost effective nor efficient. As per Provincial Treasury's responses to the committee, Executive Council resolved that the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure be the sole implementing agent for infrastructure in the province. EXCO also resolved that if DPWI has capacity challenges, it could appoint implementing agents to assist in this regard. However, departments continue to appoint implementing agents directly despite this EXCO resolution. These implementing agents charge exorbitant fees and have shown to be complicit in rising irregular expenditure, with abandoned construction sites being the norm and public funds being drained by interest, penalties and standing costs. Infrastructure projects mostly exceed 120% of their projected costs, despite exorbitant fees being paid to consultants. There are also far too many contractors that are awarded tenders in the province and who subsequently are either declared bankrupt before these projects are completed, or in the alternative, abscond from the site because of an inability to deliver. Honourable Deputy Speaker, the DA has long been advocating for tighter controls when it comes to the appointment of contractors for large civil works. Often, contractors are unable to complete these intricate projects, which lead to huge financial losses for our government. The DA will continue to advocate for the following changes to procurement processes and again ask Treasury to consider imposing the following. Number one, the blacklisting of companies and or directors of companies who have delivered substandard work to the government and are either unwilling or unable to fix them. The blacklisting of companies and or directors of companies who have been unable to deliver on the original scope of the contract and which have led to the government suffering a loss as a direct result. And the upfront delivery of minimum bank guarantees for large civil contracts to cover government if contractors have liquidity problems. Honourable Deputy Speaker, perhaps the greatest challenge facing Provincial Treasury can be found when considering the state of financial management across departments and municipalities, which have a direct impact on compromising getting anything done for our people. As was noted by the Honourable Vicky Knutzer in the debate yesterday, 14 of the 39 municipalities in our province are in financial distress, while 3 out of our 6 district municipalities are currently under administration. 7 municipalities have adopted unfunded budgets in the 2022 and 2023 financial year, and municipalities had 10.6 billion rand irregular expenditure incurred for not following proper procurement processes. 24.29 billion rand of last year's irregular expenditures, closing balance of 27.2 billion rand, have not been dealt with, either written off or recovered, and no action has been taken against the responsible officials. Municipalities also recorded 1.8 billion rand in unauthorized expenditure and 220 million rand in fruitless and wasteful expenditure. Unspent conditional grants for the 2021-2022 financial year not approved for rollover amounts to 472.59 million rand. And the reasons for these unspent funds, Honourable Deputy Speaker, include the late procurement of contractors, non-appointment of municipal managers, non-performance of contractors, and additional funding that would have been received towards the end of the year. However, because of these rollovers not being approved, for legitimate reasons, we have nearly R500 million that could otherwise have played a role in reversing the collapse of our small towns across the province, having been surrendered back to National Treasury. The provincial departments of Health, Education and Transport continue to fail in their audits, with repetitive findings year after year, whilst these departments enjoy the largest slices of the provincial budget. If we cannot get the financial management of the 3 largest departments right in the province, we will never get financial management right across our province. Through you, Honourable Deputy Speaker, to the Honourable MEC, I understand that there are political considerations by the Premier in appointing his cabinet. However, one would have expected that, given your stated objective to correct what is happening in these particular departments, that you would have had a word with the Honourable Premier with respect to particularly education and health. And I know the Premier probably doesn't want to remove the Honourable Gade. There are always factional fights within the ANC, and you need to keep your political allies close. However, these 2 departments should have been put under Section 100 administration It's not personal, Honorable Gade. I'm talking about the state of the department. These two departments should have been placed under Section 100 administration a long, long time ago. How do you justify going this entire term, Honorable MEC, through you, Honorable Deputy Speaker, just plodding along with the same old, and expecting to find a different result? In fact, it was Albert Einstein that stated that doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. The DA supports the report of vote 12.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kasim. I will now invite Honorable Zibula from the Economic Freedom Fighters. Honorable Member, you've got 8 minutes full.
Enkosi, Deputy Speaker. Greetings, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Greetings to all the members of the House and the people of the Eastern Cape at large. The report by the Finance Committee paints a bad picture of the Department of Finance, a department which is at the center of financial administration and a watchdog over all other departments in the Eastern Cape. The provincial departments and its agencies are unable to raise funds which solely depend on national appropriation. Most failures in the provincial government are attributed to finance department either not approving requests of funds by the departments or rejecting proposals that are submitted by the department accounting officers or diverting from the budget or the austerity measures. I want to highlight 4 challenges that we have been raising over some time, yet we see no end to them. 1, the non-payment of contractors within 30 days by the Eastern Cape departments. 2, the constant use of implementing agents whilst there is a capacity in employees employed to do the same service. 4, the continuous use of consultants whilst there are employees employed to do the same service or employees that are empowered to do the specialty service required. Point 4, the inability to scrap up the practice of employees doing business with the state in all provincial departments. Honorable Deputy Speaker, the Premier Oscar Mabuyane, when he took over the premiership from Premier Phumulo Masualle in 2019, he promised to eradicate the non-payment of service providers within 30 days. I'm not sure, Deputy Speaker, whether he was having that zeal and a push because he was fresh coming from being in business. Whereas I know Msindo, but ngokulo msindo kubonakala ngathi udephekile because uyayigqiba le 6th term engenzanga lonto. In his maiden speech of provincial address 6th term administration delivered by Premier Lubabalo Oscar Mabuyane and Bisho on the 28th of June 2019, page 14, paragraph 3, reads as follows, I quote, "As this 6th administration, we are not going to tolerate any delays in the payment of SMMEs within 30 days. Here I'm referring to payment of SMEs who have completed the work they have been tasked to do," close quote. We need to constantly remind ourselves what is the impact of non-payment of suppliers within 30 days. We need to put ourselves in the shoes of small business person who struggle to even acquire capital. 1, they impact negatively to the small business who use borrowed money to raise capital as the banks do not give to them without collateral. Point 2, small businesses borrow money from the banks and those banks' loans accumulate interest. Salaries are not paid on time, even the general operation of the business is affected because small businesses use all that they have. 4, raw materials cannot be acquired. Now, the constant use of implementing agencies and consultants is a battle that we will never see an end to it as long as the ANC government is in power. The main cancer is tenders and the influence of business in the ruling party. To deal with this challenge of tenders, we have a cure as EFF that we need to abolish them by implementing the 7 non-negotiable cardinal pillars of EFF. I want to emphasize cardinal pillar number 2 that says building state and government capacity which will lead to the abolishment of tenders. For a successful state that seeks to drive real economic and industrial development and provide better services, an inspired, skilled, and well-compensated public service is required. The public service should be strengthened for a sustainable transformation of the economy. The state should build internal capacity to construct and maintain its infrastructure such as roads, railways, dams, basic services such as school, houses, hospital, and recreation centers. The state dependency on tenders have massive political implication and also reduces the quality of work provided because of the corruption and the corruptibility of the whole tendering system. In addition to the reliance on tenders, limits the capacity of the state to directly industrialize the economy by deliberately building value chains through direct state procurement. The state capacity to perform these functions will entail that the public service and its servant be properly maintained, serviced, and adequately remunerated at all levels. At the center of a strong developmental state should be a motivated, inspired, and well-remunerated public service that shares in the developmental vision of the country. These interventions should be coupled with the industrial capacity, aggressively fight corruption and criminality within the state. The fight against corruption should not be a side issue, but a fundamental component of the status apparatus in order to increase public confidence in the state. The real estate will employ engineers, quantity surveyors, project managers, and builders for a sustainable task. Their responsibility include the construction of houses, roads, bridges, sports facilities, dams, sewage systems, and more. These should be the subject to strict standards of quality assurance to ensure that at all centers, state-constructed entities are of good quality. State-owned companies will not be driven by principles of profit maximization, but by the need to provide cheap and affordable service to the people and the economy of the state. The people of the Eastern Cape should look no further than EFF to get a good, healthy, corrupt-free governance. We invite the people of the Eastern Cape to celebrate with EFF as we celebrate our 10 years of existence. EFF is ready to lead the Eastern Cape government. EFF leads. As EFF, we don't support this budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will now call upon the African National Congress, Honorable Dimaza.
No, thank you. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Good afternoon to you, the Acting Premier, MEC's Chief Whip, Deputy Chief Whip, honorable members, and the visitors in the gallery, the guests in the gallery, to everyone, good afternoon. I think, Deputy Speaker, in debating this report, I think the first thing that I need to do is to appreciate the opportunity given to me by the African National Congress to come and represent it in this podium. Secondly, Deputy Speaker, I think whenever we come to this podium as honorable members, or wherever we are, we should be remembering that one, you are in the Eastern Cape, and people should start to remember the history of this particular province, where this province comes from. People to remember this is one of those particular provinces that was affected seriously by many wars. If you remember quite well, this province was the first area where the Portuguese settled in 1488. And to cut it short, to come closer, in 1820 again, it is where you'll get the British settlers came and settled in this province. To come and shorten up because of the question of time, we must know this is the only province where you'll find out that the Xhosas were divided into two. What does that mean to you as a person who's a politician who come and stand here? What does that mean to you as a person if you understand the problems that this particular province is confronting with? This is one of the provinces that was never developed. Instead, what then the apartheid government saw, it was the province where to frustrate it. I think even to those of our colleagues who always pointed to Cape Town, I want just to remind them of one thing. When you are in Cape Town, even if you are in Worcester, you are in Ashton, you are in Robertson, wherever you go, wherever, just go around the township. Ask yourself one question. Why do you still have, why are there those long houses which we call the hostels? When you go to Nyanga, whether you go to Worcester, to Kwezi, wherever you go, why there are still those long hostels? You go to Ceres, you go to Hrabo, you go everywhere. Why there are those? What was the reason? And then when you start to understand it, no, don't howl. When you start to understand the reason for those, you will then come to this podium to understand that what this province needs, it needs all of us to pull with one force so that we take this province to where it belongs. I want just to touch on one thing. Time and again, people come here and talk about education underspending. Honorable members, let us be honorable when we come here. Western Cape, in 2019, 2020 financial year, the Department of Education, in the past 3 years, Western Cape returned underspent in infrastructure 851 million. It was returned. 851 million it was returned. No, let me tell you. You want the proof? I will tell you. Now, because it is a black person speaking here, you start to ask about the proof. Because, no, you can't be trusted. Because it's me, I cannot be trusted. Even my research, I cannot be trusted. It's worse with you. You're a very young boy. Don't talk like that with me.
Honorable, let me just save your time. There is a hand. Honorable Von Brockenroder, on what rule are you standing?
Point of order is that.
Point of order.
Is the member prepared to take a question?
Honorable Timaza, are you prepared to take the question?
I can take the question, sir.
Okay. He's prepared.
Yes.
Thank you. Can I ask the member, is there any documentation or proof of what you have cited now of the Western Cape returning money, or is it just thumb sucking? Is it maybe misleading the House? And if so, can he then withdraw this statement?
Honorable Timaza.
Chairperson, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Honorable Deputy Speaker, I will request the honorable member, if he so wish, go and read the Cape Herald, go and read the Cape Times of 2021, 19th of May and September. Go and read those newspapers. Go and take the report tabled by the Minister Schaefer when she was still the minister. Go and read the report what she tabled in the Parliament. The one who's the Deputy Speaker now, who is refusing to return car, which was given to her when she was still the minister.
Thank you. You can proceed.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I think if he wants to, I think I would need just to assist you, honorable member, further. I think if I need to assist you further. The Corruption Watch report released, that is in September 2022, 6th edition of it. There's no other one that has been released now. It states clearly that Western Cape is among the 4 provinces with the highest corruption rate. Western Cape, it is number 2. The province that is leading it is Gauteng, followed by KZN, and followed by Limpopo. Eastern Cape is nowhere to be found on that. Secondly, now listen, because you continue to come here and start to mislead the people of this province. I'm telling you, you wanted proof, I'm giving you proofs. I'm telling you what is happening. The Western Cape, the city of Cape Town.
Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Timaza, your time is saved.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, is the honorable member willing to take another question? I'd appreciate it, please.
Honorable Timaza.
Please, take this one.
Order, honorable members, Honorable Timaza.
Please take this one, please.
The reason I'm
Thank you very much. Honorable, the question
Honorable
is...
Kasim, please. Yes, honorable member, can you reply?
Sometimes listening is a skill too.
Yes.
No, I won't take that question.
He's not prepared to take the question.
Don't be scared of me. Only take Marshall's question.
Thank you very much. Honorable Timaza, you can proceed.
The city of Cape Town, there's a report around the city of Cape Town. In fact, Honorable Deputy Speaker, if you talk about corruption, even in transport, the Western Cape is leading in Stellenbosch. There are more than 1,500 illegal licenses that have been released. More than 1,500. So, the city of Cape Town, companies are encouraged to corrupt municipalities to build double the amount for services. You see? Nompotwan. Honorable Deputy Speaker, as the African National Congress, we note with great concern the South African unemployment rate in the first quarter of 2023 was recorded at least a little bit higher. According to the quarterly labor force survey, this is in the increase of 0.2% as compared to that one of 2022. We therefore, as the African National Congress, wanted to appeal to Provincial Treasury and the Office of the Premier, that is to start to develop some policies that will directly address this particular abnormality, to assist our province so that at least we can start to look to the question of the employment of the young people. Honorable Deputy Speaker, we envisage good governance and accountability on the basis that we promise the people of the Eastern Cape service delivery through our manifesto, and they had entrusted us by voting us into the office. We therefore have a duty and responsibility to bring services to our people, fight corruption, nepotism within the departments and financial mismanagement. Honorable Deputy Speaker and honorable members, to achieve that we plead with the Provincial Treasury to continue without fail to implement the implementation of the financial management framework of institutionalizing the discipline. I think as ANC wanted to put it clear, discipline, especially consequence management. Consequence management is institutionalized, that is in this country. There are these particular key documents that are there, the question of the PMDS, the question of the PFMA, if we talk of the departments, MFMA, if we talk of the municipalities, and many other documents that are there. And we appeal that HODs of the different departments must start to look into this and make sure that at least we fight this particular question of managers in the different departments who are mismanaging those departments, especially the finances in the departments. Honorable Deputy Speaker, the African National Congress, we urge the Provincial Treasury to work tirelessly in improving the revenue collection through promoting fiscal sustainability in the province, which will enable the province a fiscal space to fund its priorities within its limit and shrinking budget allocation. We applaud the Provincial Treasury as the ANC, that is for their financial consolidation strategy, which will continue to focus on the budget expenditure ceiling, which will continue to focus on managing, that is the wage bill of the province. We applaud the Provincial Treasury. Whereas the African National Congress, we have problems, it is around the question of the PCMT. Because ever since the PCMT, whenever we meet with the departments, we get departments complaining that why are they not filling posts? And then the department will continue to say it is because of the PCMT. And also as the African National Congress, as far as the PCMT is concerned, I think it is the one which also leads to a situation where it will be very difficult to hold the HODs of the different departments accountable. Because if you have got a certain group of people who are going to decide for this department who to employ and who not to employ, and then it means you are totally neglecting the PFMA, Section 40, Paragraph 5 of the PFMA, which states that if the HOD fails to do all of the above, but if then you don't employ, the HOD will say it is because PCMT said I must not do this. So these are some of the things. That's why we are saying this question of the PCMT, it needs to be looked into thoroughly. And you'll remember there was a time when the HOD was said the PCMT doesn't look into critical posts. But when you go now to the Department of Health, you go to other departments, even critical posts are not filled because of this PCMT. Even the department now has started to establish what is called PCCMT, all those words, whatever. So as African National Congress was saying, this needs to be reviewed. We need to sit and start to look at it, whether it does assist or not. But as far as we're concerned as of now, it's something that needs to be looked into. Due to the fact that, and also, ANC is pleased that the province, under these difficult challenges, continues to drive the economic recovery and boosting economic growth, as well as job creation through the 5-point plan for economic recovery, focusing on the following priorities or intervention: economic infrastructure development, industrialization and sector development, inclusive economic and transformation, digital transformation, and public finance. Honorable Deputy Speaker, our province is faced with a lot of challenges with regards to financial management due to the fact that the provincial departments do not comply. Most of them, they do not comply, that is with the PFMA. There is a lot of financial misconduct taking place. Therefore, as African National Congress, we urge Provincial Treasury working with the Office of the Premier to ensure that steps and consequence management are applied against those accounting officers whose departments do not comply with the PFMA on the basis of the Section 38 of the PFMA, Section 40 of the PFMA. In fact, it can also include Section 81 of the PFMA, 81.3.1b of the PFMA. If then it needs to be looked into, because those particular sections of the PFMA, they clearly indicate that the HOD must, if he fails or he allows people to permit the question of irregular expenditure, mismanagement of finances, then action must be taken. So there's a lot that is covered as far as the PFMA is concerned. So we're appealing to the Office of the Premier and Provincial Treasury to look into this matter. You see, if we can look into these particular matters, we can save a lot of money that is for the province. Because what we need as this province, instead of us thinking that there's a lot of other money that we can get, what is it that we need to do with the one that we have presently? What is it we can do to save the one and also to maximize the one that we have? We need stricter measures. And the stricter measures, first, you can go to the lower levels, but the critical levels, at the upper levels, the discipline must start there. If we don't, then we're going to have some serious problems. You see, I don't want to get into a temptation of talking about, you see, one of the serious problems that you notice whenever you oversight the department, Honorable MEC, it is the question of, there are these controls that needs to be there. There are about 3 types of critical controls in any department. But critical in our province, you see the lack of what you term preventative controls. Preventative, where you started to prevent the spending which is wrong, which is illegal, so that things can be done in a better way. Honorable Deputy Speaker, as the African National Congress, we note with great concern that some of our municipalities are really regressing, that is with their financial management and audit outcomes. We therefore urge Provincial Treasury to continue assisting those particular municipalities, deploy people to be there permanently in those particular municipalities to assist them so that at least a number of things can be done. And as ANC, I want to close, Honorable Deputy Speaker, by the following words. Sometimes people will come and we talk about rejecting the budget, not approving the budget. But whenever you do that, what are the implications? The implications of that are, you say you don't want this budget because maybe this particular budget does not address the question of the appointment. If you are not approving that budget, you are saying, let's make an example. If you're not going to approve the budget of the legislature, it means even the people who are here will not be paid. It means all the other things that were done are not going to. How can a member of the finance committee, a member to say, go and do underspending, go and do overspending? Because if you don't have money, you are going to overspend. Then people are saying, go and do overspending, and which is wrong. So, but in any case, because sometimes people batando howler, but in any case, we are going to approve whether they like it or not. Because at the end of the day, we have got numbers. And numbers talk when it comes to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable MEC, just before you come, let's also commend your department. It's an indication of leadership. We can see that the entire top management, led by the HOD, Superintendent General of the department, the deputy, The Deputy Directors General and GMs are also part of this delegation. Tomorrow, we will be approving the budget of this province. We hope that departmental heads will also be here to observe it. Thank you very much. Over to you, MEC, 10 minutes.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
Order, honorable members.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. The task of bringing departmental HODs tomorrow will be a tall one, but I will ensure that I send a message to all MECs to ensure that when the appropriation bill is tabled tomorrow, all HODs will be sitting here. I will try my level best. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. I wish to welcome the report that has been presented by the chairperson before you and the subsequent comments made by the representatives of the various political parties. I learned in my previous department that if I spend time on this, I'm not going to say what I wanted to say because of spending time to what is being raised. But there are issues that are really tempting for me to respond to. Most importantly, we note and appreciate the findings and recommendations made by the committee, and we commit to providing feedback within the prescribed 30 days. As I indicated earlier, we are operating in a constrained fiscal environment owing to an economy that is not growing, also compounded by challenges such as unemployment, electricity crisis, and limited access to quality services. All these challenges require a treasury that is responsive, but a treasury that is firm. In that regard, we remain committed to supporting the province through the implementation of our mandate of providing a strategic and technical leadership in the allocation, management, and utilization of financial resources for socio-economic development in the Eastern Cape. All information required to assist the validation process of organizational structure, Honorable Deputy Speaker, has been provided. The Provincial Treasury is in contact with the OTP regarding the outcome of the organizational structure validation process that should also be ratified by the Department of Public Service and Administration. The matter pertaining to the rationalization of public entities, I expected it to be raised. We briefed the committee of the department going out and advertising for service providers that will assist us in the rationalization of the public entities. We briefed the committee that we could not, we advertised more than once and could not get a service provider. We also briefed the process to finalize the rationalization of public entities. A memorandum of agreement has since been signed with GTEC, the Government Technical Advisory Center, as an acceptance of the support and a commitment to cooperating with the Provincial Treasury and affected departments to facilitate and finalize the rationalization of public entities. So that's the route that we have gone after advertising and not being able to find suitable service providers. I must say to Honorable Zibula, through you, Honorable Deputy Speaker, that it's unfortunate that we cannot find all requests by departments. If you could try and find all requests by departments, the legislature wouldn't receive a cent. Because the requests that come across from all departments are 10 times what we have as a province and what we are receiving. So it's impossible to fund all requests by the province. But I wish to reaffirm to this House that the implementation of zero-based budgeting is now in full swing. All departments, except the legislature, are participating in the zero-based budgeting project. And a number of recommendations have been made from the project to improve budget performance and service delivery in the province. We continue to implement and monitor the project with a view to institutionalize it. I'm sure as time goes on, the legislature will also participate and be part of that. The scholar transport remains an audit risk for the Department of Transport. However, the reform that has been brought about by the new instruction number 4 of 2022-23 PFMA compliance and reporting framework to disclose only the incurrence for the respective financial year of the unauthorized, irregular, fruitless and wasteful expenditure in the financial statements is mitigating the audit risk in this area. So the prior year balances of these unwanted expenditures are now reported in the annual report. A full report on this issue will however be provided in due course. I don't want to belabor the point. I think scholar transport has been the order, has been debated since yesterday and today for the whole day. Employees doing business with the state, Honorable Sebula says we must scrap this. It is unfortunate that we can't scrap this. We do make quarterly reports to EXCO. We make quarterly reports of all of those that are potential and all of those that are doing business with the state. What we do is to advise departments and departmental heads to encourage or to deregister all of those that have registered in the central supplier database. It is not up to us as Treasury to scrap it, because employees just go around the corner, register a company, and then thereafter go and register in the suppliers and central supplier database. So it's a very difficult thing to say we must scrap it, but we are reporting on that, we are monitoring on that. We write to all HODs to say Ubani Gabani is doing business with the state, has registered a company and is registered in the CST. Please tell him to deregister, and thereafter also indicate and say Ubani Gabani has done business with the state and this is the amount, and the HOD must then take the necessary consequences that are expected in such instances. So a quarterly report, we do a quarterly report on this one, Honorable Deputy Speaker. On municipal intervention process and progress on municipal debt, the 4 pillars of municipal sustainability: governance, institutional, financial management, service delivery, they serve as a basis for monitoring progress on 5 municipalities that are under mandatory intervention, which is section 139.5. I know this has been the debate for the whole morning as well on half of the municipalities being on intervention. Let me try and say a few things. I can see my time is a bit running out. On the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure versus the infrastructure, I think it's a matter that was raised here in the morning. The province has established its own coordinating committee, which is called the PICC at provincial level, that is also going to look at the performance of all departments when it comes to infrastructure and report to the EXCO. On the payment of 14 days, there's only one department that does not pay within 14 days, Honorable Deputy Speaker, which is the Department of Health. And the reason for that, it is affected by accruals and payables, also affected by what you know as the medical legal claims that it pays. So I'm talking about departments because the issue was department paying within 21 days. 30 days. And the Department of Education has long gone, is out of that process. The Department of Education pays within 21 days. I dare say that when it has money.
2 minutes, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much. There's always the talk about the abolition of tenders. I have yet to come across a person who has an option on this one. We all talk about tenders must be abolished. I have yet to come across a speaker who tables an alternative to the abolition of tenders. And I would encourage speakers to come here and say abolish tenders, and I would say yes, and then say this is the alternative. But everyone just talks about that. On the PCMT, Honorable Deputy Speaker, there was a presentation made to the joint committees of OTP and Finance on this, and I think we will have to do it again, because I don't think there is proper information on what actually happens. The PCMT, there are no challenges with the PCMT. The challenge remains with the departments in doing the correct thing. And I would want to come back and request the department to come and make that presentation. Honorable members, throughout this term of administration, we have been consistent in advocating for an efficient government that promotes good governance and accountability. Our aim is to institutionalize business discipline in the management of public resources using the financial management accountability framework as a tool. We believe that the wheels of service delivery will roll swiftly if we can get this aspect right. It is for this reason that we continue to encourage leadership at all levels to implement consequence management where there is evidence of lawlessness. Our plans for 23-24 are already in action, and we appreciate your support to achieving goals that we have set for ourselves. Once again, I commit that a comprehensive report that responds to all the findings and recommendations of the Portfolio Committee will be submitted within the prescribed 30 days. I thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mphathiswa. Sabulela kakhulu. Honorable members, I now put the report. Any objection? Thank you very much. Honorable members, just be reminded that our veteran of this House, Honorable Bobby Stevenson, is hospitalized in Green Acres Hospital, and he has already undergone a surgery, and he may take 4 to 8 weeks to fully recover. Please place him in your hearts and prayers for speedy recovery. Simnqwenelela kuba aphakame abe nathi apha kwakhona. That concludes the discussion on the matter and the business for the day, and the House will adjourn until tomorrow, the 23rd, June 2023, 10 o'clock, and the House is adjourned.